your will ahead of any personal desires that we have. We ask that you will let your light shine brightly through us, and for us to show your love in our life by the way that we act, dress, and speak. Anoint us to be women of integrity, honesty, and humility in all of our interactions. We praise and thank you today for allowing us to be able to gather together as part of the body of the church, and pray that we will glorify your name in all that we do. It is in your Son, Jesus Christ's name, that we pray. Amen. Thank you. So like Emma said, I'm Eva Jo, and we are sisters. I know the height looks like we are not, but I promise we are from the same genes. We just got more of it. So when we were thinking about modesty and just kind of what we've grown up with and things that we have just learned over the years, the biggest part we wanted to pull away is just God has called us to live holy lives, set apart from the world. So this means our behavior should be different from those who don't know him. Modesty is essential because it allows us to focus on the things that are truly important, and it also helps us to treat ourselves and others with respect. Being modest in our dress, our speech, and also our behavior focuses our attention on honoring God instead of seeking the approval of others. So we had a few verses. Oh, there we go. We'll just let you do it, Chad. Okay. 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look on his outward appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." And then the next one is Matthew 5:16. We'll do it. We might have them in the wrong order. We'll switch to Romans 12:2.
Here we go.
Here's 5, 6.
Okay. We're really professional with this.
It's all good. It's good.
Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. We'll see which one's next. 1 Peter 3:3-4. Don't be concerned about the outward beauty that depends on jewelry or beautiful clothes or hair arrangement. Be beautiful on the inside, in your hearts, with the lasting charm of a quiet and gentle spirit that is so precious to God. And then Romans 12:2 says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. So Emma is going to share a few little things that she had, and then we'll kind of move on to the next steps.
So according to Matthew 22:37-38, love for God is the first and greatest commandment. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. Nothing is more important than this. It should be our utmost concern. We cannot separate our internal from our external. The root issue is the heart, and what is in the heart works its way into every area of our lives. We display our reverence to God by our demeanor and dress. So it is impossible to accurately explain proper dress or demeanor without also discussing the virtuous heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. We were taught growing up that specific rules about modesty change with time. Someone from the prairie days would be absolutely appalled at the modest apparel that we wear today, but it's appropriate for the times now.
Your ankle's showing, it's just so racy.
But now that's appropriate, and it's not something that's so appalling to be seen, as long as it's done in a modest way. So instead of seeing real modesty as restrictive, we were shown it's a constant, desirable quality and beautiful virtue. It's not based on fashion, but the state of the heart and appropriateness. A well-mannered and respecting woman avoids clothes and behaviors that are inappropriate. In 1 Timothy 2:9, Paul instructs women to adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness. So what this kind of points to or captures is the idea of not doing what is immodest out of an inner sense of what is reverent, honorable, or respectable. She is a woman who has a sense of self-respect. She has too much respect for herself and for others to act or dress in an immoral way. How we express ourselves in public shows our consideration for others. And a little bit to the point of what one of the other young ladies that was speaking to earlier, she said, truth is a very hard thing for people to hear and also for us to accept as ourselves. And a little bit in the same way, one thing that we're able to do as women and young women is our modesty is something that can speak for itself. It's not something that has to be loud. It's not something that has to be necessarily even voiced. But it's a visual effect that we can all use to glorify God and to show what our beliefs as Christians really mean. So we can silently and universally just take our modesty and use it as an offering to Christ to others to be able to minister to them and for them to be able to observe it. And they don't necessarily have to hear us saying anything, but they just visually see it. So the Bible counters both the legalistic and the lax attitude. It challenges us to reject a judgmental, role-based approach that measures modesty by the hemline rather than our heart.
Okay, so the next part we have some beautiful young ladies who have been very courageous to volunteer to be models for us today. So will we go get them and let them know we're ready for their first walkthrough? We had just a song that we really enjoyed and we wanted to share with you, and then also just a little short video that's really touched our hearts over the years, and so we wanted to share that with you as well as we go get them prepped as soon as we can get it up here on the PowerPoint.
Is that video on the PowerPoint?
I think so. We'll see here.
As threats and anti-Semitism spread around the world, now more than ever,
This is not a part of it.
our nation and people need your prayers. Only 11 years ago, most Israelis would have hardly heard the name of Yeshua, much less the gospel itself. Yet to
We're going to roll with you here.
We got you.
Do you see one that says like Galatians on there?
Yeah, just a second. We just got to get this one to stop. Get that to stop. Go back to it. Go back to the paragraphs.
We have unexpected advertising and sponsors.
We hit it 3 times.
Full of
It was colored.
here's
Right here, You want who you are message, correct? Okay. This one right here? Maybe, yeah. Something was going on. But we're going to try to go the direct route through YouTube. We'll get there. We'll get there. It's all good.
You are beautiful. You are smart. You are funny. You are kind. You are unique. You are worthy of love and affection. You are never too much, and you are always enough. You are precious. You are a diamond, a rose, a pearl, the most stunning of all God's creation. You are worth more than you could ever imagine. Worth more than the numbers on the scale, or the hair product you use, or the shoes you wear. More than how many girls wish they were you, or how many guys wish they had you. More than the price tags on your clothes, or the percentage at the top of your math test, or even the number of followers you have on Twitter. Your worth surpasses all earthly things, because in the eyes of the Lord God, you are loved, and you are worth dying for. Regardless of who you think you are, whether you model in a magazine or you model pottery with grandma, whether you're on the hot list or the not list, whether you're head cheerleader or a high school dropout, whether you're Miss Popular or you've never had anyone you could call a friend, whether you love yourself and love your life, or you can't stand to look in the mirror and you feel as if everything in your life is falling apart, whether you're such a winner or you feel like the world's biggest failure, regardless of who you think you are, the reality is that you deserve someone who would give up their life for you, because you are powerful and strong and capable. Read about the women in the Bible: Esther, Ruth, Martha, Mary. These women changed the world forever. And inside of you, each and every one of you is a woman with that same power and that same strength and that same world-changing capability. And your responsibility is to find that woman and to set that woman free. This is who you are. And any voices in your mind that try and tell you differently are from the enemy. And the next time you hear them, this is what you say. You say, "Nuh-uh, not me, Satan. I am a daughter of the living God, cherished, loved, and adored above all things by the Creator of all things, for the glory of Him who is greater than all things. I am awesome." And please, don't you forget it.
You want
Okay,
that?
I think we're ready for the next one. It should have some music with it.
Okay.
Bible studies that all led to a place of
Probably hasn't had to.
Did you read slide 10? You're looking at right now. You can close it. You can close it. Yes. Thank you.
You all are getting a little side lesson in PowerPoint. white outfit and a jean jacket. Perfect for any little casual outing. Next up is Harper in bright pink pants with a fun little white vest. And Miss Allie, a lovely blue top and white pants. Perfect for any little everyday outing. Next up is Millie in a very casual, fun winter outfit that she could go run some errands in the cold. Has some sunglasses for the bright lights. And Miss Madison in a cute striped top and a jean jacket. I love her shoes. Alright, so they're going to, are we good on time? So the girls are going to go out and change for one last presentation at the end here. So just like all these beautiful girls that we just saw walking up, each one of you, as I'm looking at the audience, is so very unique and special to God. There's absolutely no one else like you on the planet. Science over the years has proven that we're matchless. You have fingerprints, footprints, voice patterns, and so much more that is exclusively only you. This is true also of our inner beings. You and I can't be copied. We are the one and the only original version. Multiple Bible verses reveal we're all unique creations of God and how God has designed you. None of us are perfect, but we must remember God uses all things for his good purpose, even things that we think as weaknesses or things that we may dislike about ourselves are all God's perfect handiwork for a reason. Perfect example, height. I've always wanted to be taller, but I've come to accept and just be very grateful for what God has given me and see all the benefits and the blessings of being shorter versus my sister who's taller. And she, in turn, has some of the same things that she'll notice. So just remembering that things that you may dislike about yourself or think aren't good things have positive things in there. So God is sovereign, and all he does is for our ultimate good. Our part is to trust and yield to him. Our Father wants us to discover and fulfill the purpose designed for our life. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." We're God's workmanship, planned and crafted works of art which can't be replicated. The world likes to compare ourselves with others and grade who is best, but God only sees us as the individual souls and the child he loves. No one can take your place in God's heart. God never planned to have a cookie-cutter servants. We're individual and equipped to serve God in a way only we can. We may have similar jobs or roles, but when we fill that task in a way that was designed just for us, no one else can do it the way that we can. In Isaiah, it says, "He who made you, who formed you in the womb, and who will help you, your Redeemer. I am the Lord, the maker of all things, who stretches out the heavens, who spreads out the earth by myself." Our Creator sculpted us. The original Hebrew word translated as formed means to fashion as a potter molds a lump of clay. You're a hands-on project he's loved with an everlasting love. As his creation, God knows everything about you, including your thoughts and the details that make you who you are. He cares for you and loves you. You aren't a face in the crowd. God sees you and knows you better than you know yourself. God, our Heavenly Father, also calls his children by name. We're seen and loved as individuals. King David, in the Old Testament, understood how well God knew him when he wrote, "You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely." And I find that very comforting to know that God has such such an inner working knowledge of who I am. It can almost make me want to cry when I think about it. This is true of all God's children. We're never out of his sight or separated from his care. He knows each individual more intimately than we can imagine. He knows when sparrows fall and calls the stars by name. He knows the thoughts of you. He created you and loves you fully. Everyone is a gift. If we could only see this about ourselves, we're each incomparable, have our own special abilities to offer, are beautiful in our own way, and have a contribution only we can make. So we hope the Lord will help us not to waste time worrying about how we compare to others, by freely sharing the light he has placed in each of us, and to open our eyes to see each person we meet as a one-of-a-kind treasure. So Em and I had a few tips, and like she said earlier, it's hard to have like a set standard of rules for modesty just because things change so drastically and evolve. But there are a couple things that we just learned growing up, and then just kind of took those on as adults, and we'll just, some questions and just things we'll kind of ask ourselves and be aware of whenever we're dressing or getting ready for an event. So we'll put those up there shortly. Perfect. Okay, so the first one is dress appropriately for the event or the activity. So when you're prepping and planning an outfit for an event, kind of things to ask yourself is, how formal or informal is this? Not that we need to have a set standard of things, but you just want to dress appropriately for the event to represent yourself well and to represent God well also. And so, I don't know if you got a good example of maybe, a pair of shorts isn't immodest, but if a woman's wearing a pair of sports shorts on a super busy New York subway in rush hour, that may not be the most appropriate choice to wear at that time.
Or wearing, say, a very flamboyant red dress whenever you're going to a funeral or something like that. That's probably not the time to express yourself and have a little color. It would be more appropriate for that occasion to, if you don't have something black, to wear something that's more neutral or more appropriate for the occasion, just to be respectful for those who are grieving and not to distract from them and not to distract from the presence of the family and who it's actually about. So keep your mindset on what the function is for and who the function is for, and not necessarily dress in a way that would distract from that for that occasion.
Another one is the weather, which you don't think about all the time, but are you gonna have a chance of it raining and maybe getting your clothing wet, or is it gonna be super windy? If it's gonna be super windy, I may not wear a super flowing, fun skirt or dress. We don't wanna have another Marilyn Monroe situation.
Yes.
It's an iconic photo, but we don't wanna replicate it. What activities are you gonna be doing and how active will you be? So if you're planning on going to an event and you're going to be playing with kids a bunch and you're going to be up and down, you probably want to make sure you wear something that's appropriate for that and you're not going to, take a chance of exposing something. One big one that I've noticed a lot is, are you going to be on a stage or in like an elevated position? You may think your dress is long enough or seems appropriate, or even like a top that's a little bit more cropped. I've noticed that before with the flared kind of crop top. If a girl's coming down a height of stairs, you can almost see up her top. And also just the length of your skirt if you're up on stage, because it seems fine when you're not, but when you get up there, you're elevated, and so everything's a lot shorter. And then, like I said, stairs or bleachers or things like that, if you're going to be climbing up and down things that have, are open underneath, going across like any kind of like bridges, things that are open underneath, or bleachers, you might think about maybe wearing pants in that situation, or just being aware of that so you're not taking a chance of exposing too much. And then I think the next one is materials. You want to do that one?
So just on materials, things that are sheer, thin, or clingy, make sure that you're properly prepared. So if it's something that you know might have a little more static with it and it's going to cling to you, grab some static guard, or maybe wear something underneath it that will prevent that. Or let's just be honest, some materials, they're never going to be appropriate to wear, even though they're super cute or they may be very fashionable at the time. Some of those you just steer clear of, because there's not going to be a way that you're going to fully be able to make that material modest for you. Or light colors. Don't forget about the appropriateness of your undergarments as well. So if you're wearing a light top, make sure to match it for and pair that with your undergarments as well. That way it's not shining through and you're not having something that's transparent and printing on your other fabric. Or too tight. Not all full coverage outfits are actually appropriate. You cannot be showing any skin, but you can basically be in a bodysuit. And you're leaving nothing to the imagination. So that's probably not going to be the most modest thing that you can wear, is accentuating all of your curves and everything. So leave a little bit to the imagination. Make sure that you're aware that even though it may be covering it, how loose is it or how tight? Is it clinging to certain areas or to your chest and things, that's accentuating it is what God gave you. But you can know that, and not everybody else needs to. So, next one, please.
So just individually evaluating, because I think rules on modesty also has to go with each individual person and their figure and who they are. So dress and accessorize for your body type. So when Em and I were growing up, we were the same height for a while.
We shared everything.
We did. We shared a lot of clothes. And so at that point, everything fit normal. Once she shot up, I could wear a pair of shorts that were perfectly modest on me. Emma puts them on and they're like little hot pants, and so not appropriate. Same thing with dresses and things. Like I can get away with wearing skirts or things that fit me perfectly fine. Emma puts them on, they're too short. Or even body types. Emma has more of a tall, thin body type, so she can get away with wearing a dress or clothing that can be a little bit more form-fitting and it still seem modest and appropriate. I have more of a curvy figure, and so if I wear those super tight, more of a form-fitting outfit, it's just immodest on me because it just is too clingy and shows too much. So just kind of be aware that just because it's cute on your friend or somebody else, it may not work and be modest for you. So yeah, it may not be modest, maybe modest on some, but not all. Same situation. The style and the fit, like we said, just make sure it's appropriate style and modest style for your body type. There's a lot of dresses and things that some people can wear and they're perfectly appropriate, others can't.
So don't forget, it is completely about modesty, and we always want to represent Christ in ourselves too and hold ourselves to that standard. But also, we want to dress for what's the most flattering for ourselves as well to glorify that. So something that may look absolutely drop dead gorgeous on Eva, when I put it on, it just doesn't fit right. It doesn't fall right. It just does not look the same. So even though two people can wear the exact same style or the exact same outfit, it may not be flattering to both of them. So just remember that as well as, styling yourselves. We are all unique individuals, and so it doesn't have to be a solemn occasion that every time you go to get dressed, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to wear now? But it can be fun and it can be enjoyable at the same time that it's flattering you and flattering your body type.
Also age appropriate. So also I know there's a lot of women out here that don't need to worry about this, but there's a lot of young girls too that you want to just make sure what you're wearing is age appropriate. We don't want to dress our 10-year-olds up in an outfit that's just makes them look 30. So just make sure your clothing is just age appropriate whenever you're wearing it. And also dressing for your budget. So just because you know, I think in the world now with social media and everything, it's so easy to see all of these, especially for young girls. You're seeing all of these girls who are, you know, have all these fancy clothes or are buying all these things and doing hauls and all of this stuff that it's easy to get discontent with what you have or want something more than what you could afford maybe. And so you can still dress in a nice way and look well, and you don't have to wear the most expensive clothing so to look nice. So just dressing for your budget and being content with that, knowing that you don't need to, and like we talked about earlier, you don't need to set your standards as the standards of the world. So because they're doing it doesn't mean you need to, and you're not less because of it. A big tip that we always think of too is skirts and dresses are only as long as your slit is. So you may think I have a really modest long skirt on, but if the slit's up to here, that's how long your skirt really is. So just always kind of keep that in mind just as you are looking for things. And these are all things that we've learned from either doing it or noticing it on others. Yeah. And also for skirts and things like that, when we were talking about the material, like the sheerness or the material type, there's been several times like I put on a skirt that I think is super cute, but I don't think about how light or like thin it is and the transparency. And so our mom kind of taught us a tip that was always nice. And some days you can't always do it because the weather doesn't permit, but you can. There's lots of times I'll put on a skirt and I'll go stand in front of like a doorway or a window where the sun's shining in and kind of look to see if you can see through my skirt, because that's something that's a big thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is when you get in front of a doorway or out inside, the sun might shine through and you can literally see all the way through your skirt. So make sure you wear like a slip or something like that underneath it is also a big one. Did you have anything else? Anything you think of? Does anybody have any questions on anything or tips that they've learned over the years that we could share with everyone? Okay. I think the girls should be ready for their next round, so I'm going to go double check and make sure, and then we'll play the last song, and they're going to come up here, and then we'll just give them a big round of applause for being so courageous and coming up. But it's hard to get up in front of everybody, and they're young on top of it, so we'll go gather them up.
And one thing too, as just a thankful note for the women that we've had in our lives, and for all of you moms that do teach us so much and that are there for your daughters. And girls, don't forget to also be grateful to your mom of when she does say something to you and when she does remind you of modesty and of, oh honey, I think maybe that's a little bit too short, or hey, did you check to see if that's a little too low? In the moment, whenever we're trying to rush around or we're going to an event or we're stressed, don't forget to be grateful of that, because that is something that not everyone has. My mom, growing up, she did not have someone in her life that taught her those things, and God taught her those things, and her seeking mind and her curiosity of wanting to grow and be better and to be a better Christian woman. And whenever us girls came along, she wanted to be that for us and to be that example. So I just don't forget to thank your moms, because I am so grateful, and I know Eva is too, for everything that our mom taught us and everything that she gave us growing up, of always being an example of modesty and of classiness, and giving us that representation that I couldn't find anywhere else. And in my daily personal life, she gave us so many good tips and so many good thoughts to be able to take away into my adulthood. And Lord willing, if I'm ever blessed whenever I have daughters, I hope to be able to give back to them for that as well. So just as another thought, just don't forget to be grateful in those little annoying moments whenever you're rushing around and doing things. Don't forget to say thank you for that, or thank you for teaching me that. So that's a big part of it too. I think maybe if you want to go ahead and play it, and then I think it's like 15 seconds in, and hopefully I can get them down. I'll go check on it. Because she's been slaving away up there helping get everyone changed and ready. And to these beautiful young ladies who so courageously said yes when we asked them to model for us. So thank you all so much for having us. It was a delight to